of the Handspring Visor Edge. Now this is actually quite an old piece of equipment, you can't buy it anymore, but the fact that it's old doesn't mean to say it's no use. There's a lot of PDA equipment out there. Obviously they've got colour screens, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and all sorts of other clever connectivity options which this particular unit does not have. So why get excited about it? Well, there are many people out there who really want a fairly simple machine that allows them to run their lives a little bit more efficiently with contact information and so on. So there's no reason why a piece of equipment like this should be considered redundant. So let's have a look at it, and we'll talk through some of the things that it can do. Of course, if you're thinking of getting something like this, then eBay has got to be the classic choice to source such equipment, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Let's start off by having a look around the machine itself. It's finished in a very nice aluminium case, both front and back, and that's the connector at the bottom for sitting in the cradle, from which it's also charged. Looking further around the machine, we have got one piece of wireless connectivity, which is the infrared port, which is extremely useful. If you have got an infrared port on your computer, then you can actually synchronize the device using the USB port as well. If not, you'd use the supplied cradle and sync cable. Going around the back, again, nice aluminium finish. And on this particular model, the way that the cover works, let's just open the cover up and we'll have a look at the display screen in a minute. It actually unclips, and at the top you've got another port there for attaching other accessories, which I think includes cameras. Now whether you can get those accessories anymore, you certainly probably can't get them new, but again, the second-hand market is always available through, again, outlets such as eBay. But of course, at the end of the day, the important thing in today's terms with a device like this is its simplicity and the basic use that you can put it to. So let's have a look at a few of those. Okay, let's switch the device on, and there we go. And as you can see now, I'm a bit conscious of the fact that the camera may not pick this up too well. It's a mono screen, no colour here I'm afraid, but as you can possibly see here, it's got the typical Palm applications. You've got your address book, you've got a calculator, city time, date book, which is basically your appointments, Datebook Plus, which I'm not sure what that is, expenses, graffiti, which is the handwriting recognition facility, HotSync, which is to synchronize all your data to your computer. You've got a mail function there, memo pad for writing notes, preferences for setting preferences, and a security feature as well. Scrolling down, you've got also a to-do list, and there is a welcome message there, which is where you'll set the machine up. Have a quick look at that now. And unfortunately I don't have the original stylus for this machine. As I say, it's a little bit long in the tooth, but I'm using the stylus from my HTC Touch, which I reviewed in other videos. But rather like any PDA, you have to calibrate the screen, which is what I'm doing now. And there you go. You've then got your time and country settings. We'll just leave that for now, and setup is complete. So look at the functions. The address book, quite simply, you can enter whatever addresses you want using the handwriting recognition facility at the bottom of the screen down here, which is called Graffiti. And on the left hand side, this is where you would write letters on the right hand side is where you would write numbers, and you've got some soft keys here to take you to particular applications. Press the home screen, that takes you back to the original screen we looked at. Press this button and that brings the drop down menu at the top of the screen. You can see here, and obviously this menu will change depending on which application you're in, but here you can delete an item, beam an item, i.e. using the infrared port. You can categorize certain file types, and press the information button. Let's have a look at what we got here. Free memory 8, it's 7,888K, basically an 8 meg of memory. Now of course that doesn't sound an awful lot by today's standards, but there's two things possibly to remember. First of all, one, Palm does not use up a huge amount of memory, even with the modern versions, as I understand. Very memory efficient in terms of the fact that the programs it uses are not large. Windows Mobile is what I normally use, but a lot of people would compare that as bloatware compared to the Palm. So with 8 megabytes you can fit an awful lot of Palm applications on a device like this, and there's lots of software out there for it. Okay, let's go back to look into the address book as an example, and there's a standard technical support address here for Handspring, which is just defaulted when you reset the machine, so I'll just tap on that, and this just gives you an idea of the sort of information you can store, and you can see you've got the technical support information of Handspring. Whether that's still valid now, again, I don't know because it's an old machine, but it's just an example of how it stores data in the address view. Okay, go back to the home screen again, look at the calculator, and that's actually quite a sophisticated calculator. If anybody's got Windows Mobile, for example, you won't get a calculator as standard, as sophisticated as this one. It's got all sorts of scientific functions on it, not the sort of stuff that I understand, but you know, that's quite impressive for a standard calculator application. Look at the date book, which is where you've got all your calendar functions, and you can see here it breaks the day down into 1 hour slots, 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in this particular screen. But down here, let's have a look at these buttons. You've got soft keys to run particular applications. So if we press the first one, that brings the actual date book up. The second one brings up your telephone or your addresses, and then you've got an up and down button to scroll through what you have listed on the screen, and that one is for your menu. If you have a screen which supplies a menu, then you can press that one, it'll bring the menu up. Okay, go back to the home screen. At the top on the home screen gives you the time, the condition of the battery, and here you've got a drop down menu which is the categorization that we talked about a little bit briefly earlier on. As you load up all your programs, you can categorize them, and if you select all, it will show every program that you've got installed on the machine. If you just want to look at games, then you just click on games, but provided that your software that you have installed is categorized as a game, then it will show under that particular listing. No games in here at the moment, of course. System, facilities, graffiti, hotsync, preferences, security and welcome, they're defined as system. Utilities, nothing under utilities. And unfiled, which is basically any software that you load yourself. If you don't give it a category, then it will automatically default to unfiled. This is all very basic Palm operating system functionality. So that was a brief tour of the Handspring Visor Edge, which I hope you found useful. And for anybody thinking that older machines are redundant and useless, then hopefully that will change your mind a bit, and you may very well find that a piece of kit still has a lot of life in it yet. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers for now.